Atlus made mobile games. Some of them are tied to series and franchises you care about. What games did they make? Let's talk about them. In February 2005, Atlus Mobile was established. Actually, this is a lie, because a more rudimentary mobile service called Atlus Web I was opened October 16th, 2000. This was a subscription-based service charging roughly 315 yen, or about $2.75 a month. The first Megaten mobile game is Devil Summoner Program. This was essentially a recruitment game, with the goal to complete the compendium. Various press releases mentioned that there was at least 100 characters from SMT to negotiate with, but information outside of that is a bit sparse. You could do things like fusion, and there was special fusions locked behind different phases of the moon. Yeah, this game uses moon phases, and there was also fusion accidents. You could battle other players via the arena terminal. There was also a casino with games such as Blackjack and Codebreaker, a lounge where you can get music and art from the games. The only confirmed phone background I could find was this Mary one from Soul Hackers, and the only ringtone that I know for sure existed was a Persona 2 Eternal Punishment battle music theme. This battle mechanic was very popular, and funny enough, one of the fan sites has multiple pieces of commentary by Kazuma Kaneko himself, which illustrates to me how close-knit the community was, and perhaps how attentive Atlus was for said community, because I can't fathom any current Atlus staff making an effort to respond to fan discussion in a fan site for like Soul Hackers 2. That fan site also had stuff like how to cheese battles, and because Atlus was watching it, they're able to patch out the cheese method because they saw the discussion. SMT EZ was a 3D dungeon crawler released in 2002. This featured more than 200 demons and used a random generated dungeon game design where dungeons and chess positions would change each time you played. Players would get categorized into law, neutral, or chaos and enter the world of Makai, or the demon world. By going to DDSnet, you can summon demons, buy and sell items, learn magic, etc, etc. This game also used the Guardian system. Next was the game Kitai Devil Densho, or Mobile Demon Den. This was a collectible card game with 3 categories: the Heavenly Chapter, the Earth Chapter, and the Magic Chapter. Each day you could get 3 cards, presumably 1 from each chapter per day, for a total of 300 total cards. With the cards came commentary about the demon, and they become visible via the My Album function. You could also access the trade bulletin board to trade cards with other players. The demons featured were from the Devil Summoner and Soul Hackers games, and you would get trade points each time you exchanged cards. I'm not exactly sure what the trade points were for. The next few titles aren't Megaten, but I'm also not sure if they would be the only games, because press releases would talk about all sorts of mobile titles and I couldn't find basically any of them. Stella Deus is a PS2 game featuring character art by Shigenori Sojima. And it's a game where he got to work with one of his idols, Ryo Mizuno. Well, lucky for Stella Deus fans, this game got 2 mobile titles, The Jet Black Spirit and Alchemy Time. The Jet Black Spirit features a new story with 50 stages, which is quite a lot for a mobile simulation RPG. Age of Alchemy, or Alchemy Time, whatever, is a sequel to Jet Black Spirit, and reading a review for the game, it's described as being hard with good combat, items, art, and music. Both sequels continue to use the RAP system from the PS2 release, in which character actions during combat affects turns and actions of other characters. The skill learning system and item synthesis are also present in these mobile games, and Hitoshi Sakimoto and Masaharu Iwata, both known for their work in Final Fantasy XII, get to have their work presumably butchered, as a soundtrack was included with these games, and I assumed it sounded awful because, early OO's phones. Kowloon's High School Chronicle was a dungeon-crawling RPG visual novel hybrid developed by Shout Design Works and published by Atlus for the PS2. This is not to be confused with Kowloon's Gate, which is a PS1 game that was supposed to get a sequel in 2021. Anyway, Kowloon High School Chronicle got a mobile title. In the original game, you're a young treasure hunter who learns of ruins under Tokyo. The ruins ended up being an ancient Egyptian pyramid upside down. It was popular enough to get drama CDs and played like wizardry. Kowloon's mobile game was called Kowloon Standby HANT. There's honestly not a lot about this, and that's a reoccurring issue with basically most of the games that I'm going to talk about. It did use a simpler version of the PS2 game's mechanics, and talking to 2 of the 5 characters each real-world day gives you a wallpaper for conversing correctly with a possible 75 wallpapers existing. Growlanser is another pretty much dead Atlus series. The weirdest thing is how little information exists for its mobile game. Growlanser Alternative is based on the world of the first game in the series, set in Bonstein, the country that is the rival for the original game. It's an interesting way of presenting the setting from an alternate perspective, which is why it has the same name. Characters from the original game return as well, but since it's from the perspective of Bonstein, they stand as enemies. The game was a whopping 10 megabytes, and this was promoted as a boon to its design, as it meant the large file size had to mean there was a lot of content. This included more than 50 chapters and an estimated 30 hours of playtime. It was also dynamic as the player actions apparently changed some events. The next thing really isn't a game, it's a slew of wallpapers, ringtones, and other media that's pretty much lost. It's lost SMT, Majin Tensei, Devil Summoner, Persona, Devil Children, Makin, Busen, Rebus, Hamster Paradise, Trauma Center, Growlanser, Kowloon, Digital Devil Saga, Stella, Deus, and a lot more. It's all just kind of like lost. But I want to mention that there was a lot of it and it's just lost. Then there's Devil Children Apticall. This was an SLG based on the Devil Children Light and Dark books. It's also divided that way into a Light and Dark version. The game uses 5x5 maps to advance in battles and has turn-based combat. Gotta beat all the demons on the map to clear it. Like the Game Boy Advance games, the difference between Light and Dark is the story and the demons that appear. Placing demons on the map consumes devil energy, an alternative to Magnetite perhaps, and if a demon dies in battle, it cannot be summoned again ever. Jack Frost Adventure is the first in the video so far that is truly lost. I can't find anything on it besides a brief description that you play as Jack Frost, exploring the Arctic. There are 2 game modes, Cube de Shot and Whale de Polar, but what they do is completely lost. Another lost Frost game is Jack's Snowboard Attack. It's an action game where you control Jack Frost on a snowboard in a snowy mountain. And that's all we know. The last of this era of Atlus mobile games was released in August 2002. It was called Gotz's Trap Removal. In 2001, Requiem released Wizardry, Tale of the Forsaken Land, or Busen, Wizardry Alternative. This is a game where Koji Okada executive produced it and was meant to be a role-playing spin-off to the Wizardry series, which is very interesting considering the comparison between Wizardry and SMT early in SMT's life. Anyway, that game had a minigame led by Gotz, an orc you meet early in the game. Throughout the game, he creates traps and your job is to disarm them for useful items. This mobile game is literally the same game. The mobile game features an endless mode where it keeps going until you make a mistake, and a time attack mode where you're racing against the time. And both modes post your score on the national ranking system. And then there was 2 years of silence until February 2004, Atlus opened Megaten Alpha, a new monthly subscription service where you essentially did more of the same. And at the same time, there were other similar services such as Atlus WebX, Atlus WebJ, which became Atlus VNet, and then AtlasNet. There was also Atlus WebEZ, which essentially got everything Atlus WebI got, as well as some other games that were all lost. But I can name a few. Ham Ham Trampoline, Scotty Tryout, High Octane, and a few others that I'm just going to list on the screen. You can just pause it and look at all these. The trickiest thing is that because of how some of these games are made in partnership with different companies, and I don't know who owns the rights to what, it made digging up information really tricky because I didn't know where to look essentially. I was just typing different company names and just hoping something would pop up. So there could be stuff that I'm missing. Adding to this, the more I dug, the more I learned that, well, there's a lot of Atlus mobile services and they aren't really well documented beyond their name. And that makes the rest of this video very excessively messy. Getting back to Megaten Alpha, it allowed for a lot of very interesting things, such as the ability to play Digital Devil Story, Megami Tensei on your phone, as well as read all 9 Digital Devil Story novels, as well as 3 Mie Takase novels, SMT 3 Nocturne Book of the Earth, Persona 2 Sin, and Persona 2 Punishment. Going back again to Megaten Alpha, there was a lot of content that was available previously, like Devil Summon Program, SMTJ, SMT Devil Children Apticall, and the Casino, but there was quite a bit of content to talk about. Digital Devil Story was released for the NTT mobile phones February 26th, 2004, and later for the Vodafone and Easy app. Pretty similar to the Famicom version, except it has kanji mixed in with kana. You can save anywhere, it has an auto map, demon analyze, and the interface has been changed a bit. The graphics and background music have been redone with more colors for the graphics and more tones for the music. Jewels are now set up in the gem command in the battle menu, and a new dungeon, Shoal Holy Tower, has been added. These changes don't seem to have been adapted anywhere else, including the Namco Collection port for the Switch. Okay, let's talk about Hazama Chapter. This is the story of Hazama, the antagonist of Shin Megami Tensei If. Released in 2004, this game explains how Hazama became the Demon Emperor. He can use a comp and use magic. Okay, let's go over the story. In 1990X, the demon summoning program was distributed by Steven. However, it wasn't just given to the protagonist of Shin Megami Tensei 1, but also to the student who attended Karukazaka High School, Class 2C. Many people dismissed the program as a prank, but this student took interest in it. As he began to analyze it, it transported him into the demon world, and he began to gain the world's knowledge. Hazama and his partner Amon, the demon he summoned using the demon summoning ritual, enter the Tower of Infinity to face its trials to fulfill his wish for power. Amon explains to Hazama that if he ruled this land, he would have inhuman power. This game's design kind of parallels the Akira route, and the game ends with Hazama becoming the Demon Emperor and him stewing about how he's still human, which he sees as an imperfection. But if you play this on hard, you get an additional scene where Hazama meets Steven, and he comments on how impressive Hazama is, and has a request for Hazama, but Hazama rebuffs him, saying that he's the Demon Emperor and he serves nobody. Then there's Shin Megami Tensei 20XX. Released first in August of 2004, this game is apparently harder than previous mobile titles. Set before the events of Shin Megami Tensei 2, it doesn't have a field map or 3D dungeons, but it does have the fusion system and demon recruitment. It's also the first game for the mobile platform to have alignments. And it also has 4 endings, with each alignment having more content if you beat the game on hard. So technically 7 endings? In law, you have the full circumstances of who the protagonist is. In neutral, you meet Tianzun. In chaos, you meet Lucifer. And in the bad ending, you die. The story is that decades after Thorman launched the ICBMs, the protagonist receives a comp from a mysterious man. The boy lives in a slum in Valhalla of Tokyo Millennium and has no memories of his childhood, but spends much of his time in the gym fighting. The protagonist has a female friend, a dark-skinned amnesiac named Ain, and a portly friend named Moss. There's some familiar faces from SMT2 that makes an appearance, such as the Adonis, Akamoto, the Madam, and more. The game features a 5-party system, with the protagonist, Ain, and 3 demons, with the game over being triggered if both the protagonist and Ain die. You also have 3 slots in the front and 2 in the back, so then there's a front row and back row, and you can have a maximum of 8 demons in your stock. The protagonist uses a sword and gun skills, but Ain has those as well as magic. This game got a sequel kind of, which actually takes place before it, called Devil Coliseum 20XX. It's also considered technically a spin-off. A mysterious man gives twins a comp. It just seems like being a protagonist in early Megaten was pretty easy to know if you just mysteriously get a thing that makes you powerful. The twins are fraternal, with the brother being possessed by the divine spirit of Yahweh and the sister being the savior of mankind. The protag is the female twin at 14 years old, but apparently she's not really ever shown. We do get to see what the brother looks like. He has black hair, so maybe the protagonist has black hair too. The protag is also a super genius apparently. She masters the comp very, very quickly, and we don't really know much else about the story or anything. That's all I could find. Next was Jack's Dungeon, or Jack's Quest Demonic Help Squad. This game exists in a black hole. I only know a tiny bit of info because, well, that's all we know. We know it has the bros, Frost, Ripper, and Lantern, who struggle to solve problems in the demon world. It's an RPG where you get to play as the bros. Apparently there's roguelike elements, such as the dungeons having randomly dropped items. Frost uses ice skills, Lantern uses fire, Ripper uses force skills. Apparently you go through areas in Malkuth, Yesod, and Hod. You get quests from the City Guild and complete them to raise your rank. You receive medals for questing as well, which can be exchanged for prizes. And you could build up the Jack's arsenal by receiving magical books that teach you spells. Some spells are specific to different bros, and also you have to be certain guild ranks to be able to use the books. All we have of this game is this tiny screenshot. The next game to come was Shin Megami Tensei Pinball Judgment. Contrary to its name, it's actually a Devil Summoner mobile game. This game features art for Kyoji and somehow includes Demon Fusion, and while I couldn't tell you who made a lot of the games in this video, this game was made by KazeNet. They did quite a few pachinko games for Game Boy, Famicom, and Super Famicom, and a couple Sega Saturn pinball games, and then Kamen Rider games. It seems like this pinball game might have been the last game they did. Apparently there was 3 different pinball tables, a law table, a neutral table, and a chaos table, with different gimmicks and a different roster of demons for each table. There are 70 demons you can recruit by defeating them in this game, and you defeat them by hitting them with the ball and getting their health to 0 before the time limit. Summon demons have special abilities like increasing the number of balls in play, increasing damage done by balls, changing the way the flippers work, etc, etc. This game also somehow uses a magnetite system bound by the moon cycle. Magnetite is gained by defeating demons on the table or through events triggered on the table. If you run out of magnetite, your party will disband. In the title menu for this game, you can go to the Gomaden, there's Fusion, and there's even Fusion Accidents with a 1 in 256 chance that you'll get a rare demon. Persona 1 was a hit in 1996, so naturally, 10 years later, they decided to capitalize on it by releasing Persona Gaiden Tower in Another Sky. This is a 3D dungeon crawler. This is a side story to Persona 1 and features persona negotiation, fusion, and training. The dungeon is auto-generated and there's some kind of equipment training system as well. If you die in the dungeon, you lose all of your items and the money you have, and you can rest and save every 10th floor of the dungeon. So in order to find out what's going on with Mikagecho, the main cast heads to Sebek. They are attacked by security, and although they win the fight, they are sent into another dimension. Protag, Maki, and Mark wake up together and discover the space between different spaces. They find the Velvet Room and are told that in order to escape this different world, they need to collect orbs and their friends from the tower. The next year after the release of that Persona title, we got Digital Devil Saga Avatar Tuner A's test server. I say we, but I mean the Japanese audience, like most of the games here. This one is a bit tricky because we don't know much about it, and info on it is scant. This game takes place in another tower and was made by Atlus and BMFF, like the other Persona one. What we know of the story is that there's a huge closed tower. Surf wakes up there and explores the tower to learn why he's there and to recover his lost memories. The game uses the press turn and also has the mantra system. This was released as a preview version with 15 floors, and the complete edition, which had the full game. And this would have been something you paid separately for, as in you pay 315 yen per month, and that allows access to the preview version. Then, when the complete version was released, you'd pay 525 yen for the full version. Back then, that was like 28 cents and $5 or $4 respectively. But it's fairly ridiculous that they did that, and Atlus's business practices would only get more sketchy as time went on. Honestly, both of these tower games sound kind of just boring to me, but, you know, who am I to judge? Shin Megami Tensei Tokyo Requiem is another RPG with another original story and OST. It was released in chapters that would be available 1 per month for the course of 6 months, meaning there's 6 chapters. It has demon negotiation, fusion, and the ability to resummon demons you previously had through the compendium. There's a playthrough of this on Nico Nico, which is how I have footage for a lot of these, but the brief summary is that on Christmas Eve 2010X, a boy had a date with someone on the top of a new tourist spot in Tokyo when suddenly he received an email on his phone. He opened up the mysterious attachment and received the DIO system. Then a bright light flashed and suddenly Tokyo is engulfed in nuclear flames, and the world is ended. This is the first protagonist in the series who summons demons using his mobile phone, by the way. By the way, the heroine is the girl the protagonist was on a date with, but she dies and is reincarnated as a Lilith by making a deal with Satan. Lucifer also appears as a boy in this, apparently. I don't know why the demon summoning program in this game shares the same name as the one from Majin Tensei 2, which, by the way, takes place in 2020X, 10 years after this, but apparently they're not related at all, and it's not connected at all. But, also weirdly enough, Satan functions very similar to the Satan in Majin Tensei 1. Again, I don't know why their wires are getting crossed this way. Lilith in this game functions a lot like Pixie in the beginning of Nocturne, or Burroughs throughout the entirety of SMT 4, where she is a bit of a guide and all 3 endings kind of hinge on her. It's weird because she literally Megami Tensei's. If I read this right, in law she is reborn as a human who is then judged by God and dies because of her sins? In Chaos, you make a deal with Satan too, and part of that requires killing her viciously, and she's reborn as a goddess or something, and you stomp her out. You literally break her body under your foot. In Neutral, it seems that she comes back to life and is happy, or maybe it's like a open ending, maybe she's dead, maybe she's not kind of thing. I couldn't really tell what they were trying to say. I wasn't quite sure where to put this in the video, but around 2009, which is kinda after a majority of the games mentioned were released, Atlus actually did launch another version of some sort of mobile service, Atlus Mobile, a mobile site full of so many goodies. Rare conical illustrations, new Soejima art, wallpapers, ringtones, game trailers, flash games, most or all of which is entirely lost. Atlus Mobile was a tiered membership deal where there was 6 grades of membership. Normal, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and black. The higher the grade, the more content you'd get, with black members getting all the juicy stuff. I couldn't find very specific information about what each tier had to offer. The mobile site was meant to be a hub for all content, including the web store, Atlus World, whatever that was, as well as numerous staff blogs. Apparently the site would also change appearance based on if it was day or nighttime. It hurts to know it, but these seemingly detailed blogs from the 2 artists as well as Shoji Meguro seem to be content that is lost. I can't tell if the blogs from AtlasNet are the same blogs or if they're different, but those were partially archived. I tried to use the Atlus Mobile link to kind of verify, but none of those actual links within the archived link work. Some of the goodies included mobile phone themes, including Strange Journey, Jack Frost, Raito, Persona 134, and Devil Survivor. There was also themed calendars, like a Strange Journey one, a Jack Frost one, a Conical exclusive art one, and a Soejima exclusive art one. There was also templates and images that you could use for emails, as well as these photo borders that were very reminiscent of Print Club stuff. The site was either revived or just updated a few years later, and it was integrated into AtlasNet. To explain AtlasNet shortly, that was the main Atlus website, first launched in 2007, then relaunched in 2010 with the mobile site integration. Then it was updated in 2014 before being entirely retired in 2017. This was also Atlus could transition to their current website URL, atlas.co.jp, which in my opinion is a huge downgrade because it doesn't have blogs, it doesn't have content really outside of the news and, oh, here, buy this. So, yeah. Megami Tensei QIX Persona 3 is weird, and not just because it says Megami Tensei in the title, even though it's a Persona game. It's also weird for being a Kix derivative. Kix is a game developed by Taito, and interestingly, it was developed in the 80s by the American branch of Taito, by a husband and wife duo. The game is confusing to me, it's hard to explain, but apparently you move to create a Styx, which is a line, and the goal is to kind of capture all the available space. It seems like the further you capture space in this game, the more you see of Soejima art, so I guess you're working to reveal the image, which apparently could be used as wallpapers. I legit don't understand how it works in this iteration based on the images, since there's a bunch of masks or whatever cluttering the screen. But it's funny to see how serious the SMT games were in their attempts to be just new material. And then this is one of the first kind of BS games. We also get Megami Tensei Chaining Soul Persona 3. This is another puzzle game. It's a match 3. Beating the stage unlocks a new image that you can download just like Kix. Different personas seem to control different colored gems, and Aegis controls all special effects or something. Next we have Majin Tensei Blind Thinker. This is a continuation of the same world as Majin Tensei 1 and 2. It has 2 parts to the story, the battle part and the story part. The story part is basically, it's just a story. You're making choices that kind of slot you into one of the endings. Battles are just the SRPG battles that you got from Majin Tensei. This one is set in Neo Tokyo, which was built on the sea after World War II. The protagonist, Yuji Kashiwagi's father, worked as a researcher for a company called Age, and Yuji, the protagonist, infiltrates the building to learn about the strange circumstances regarding his dad's disappearance. While in his dad's office, he's attacked by a researcher who was turned into a demon, and he finds the demon summoning program on his dad's wrist mobile, whatever that is. He uses the program and summons an Orthoros. He is joined by a few other humans, and seems like most if not all the game takes place in the Age building. This game got a sequel, Blind Thinker 2. This follows Takeru, and an artificial demon named Zora. That's all I could find about this game. The first game I found a play diary for, it's basically like a let's play but in blog form. But the second game, I just couldn't find anything about it really. Then there's Devil Summoner, Soul Hackers, Intruder. This was released in 2007 as a simulation RPG. It takes place half a year after the events of Soul Hackers. Tom actually had a whole series of uploads about this game, but he took it down for reasons unknown. There's a re-upload for the entire series though. and you can watch that. It's got translations done by Tom, so you can see how the story and gameplay is. Technically, this would be Soul Hackers 2 if, you know, you're being technical. And that means Soul Hackers 2 is technically Soul Hackers 3. And there's also Devil Summoner Soul Hackers New Generation. This is a new game set in the same world of Soul Hackers, but it doesn't have the 3D dungeon crawling. Apparently, this is kind of like Pokemon battles where you build demon parties to pit against other demon parties for ranks, I guess. This also has this thing where only demons can battle each other, kind of like in D2. There were 2 modes, Challenge Battle and Free Battle. Free Battle is how you get more demons and strengthen your party. Challenge Battle is how you raise your rank. There were 8 ranks in the game, and the goal was to reach the top and become the Master Summoner. There was over 200 demons in the game, and you can buy infused demons at the Gomiden. The next 3 games are Megami Tensei Gaiden New Testament Last Bible 1, 2, and 3. The first 2 are going through the Gmod archival system. These are new games in the literal universe of Last Bible. The first game takes place on a star Galleria, where the Demon King revives in cycles of 100 years. Angels gave the people the power of Gaia to fight the king, but he sealed away that power. With the next resurrection coming up, the protagonist goes on a quest to become a Gaia master to stop the Demon King. The game seems to play pretty much the same as Last Bible. Megami Tensei Gaiden New Testament Last Bible 2 Beginning Gospel takes place on the star Horus, where plagues and beasts run rampant. The Mad King, Cain, rules alongside his brother, the Holy King Abel. The kings declare the child of the gospel will appear and change the world, and that's all well and good. The game is apparently more than twice as long as the first New Testament game. Yeah, that's literally what they marketed as a positive. The third title is incredulously named Megami Tensei Gaiden New Testament Last Bible 3 Phantom Hero. The article for this game that I was reading literally doesn't say what the game's about. It spends more time talking about how the first 2 games sold more than 100,000 copies, or I guess downloads. So just look at these screenshots, I guess, and make up something in your head. Based on the other games, I would just guess that, you know, there's a distant star, there's a Demon King coming and a Gaia Master needs to stop them. I think what's interesting about these is I believe that the third game is probably going to end up on Gmod as well, which is available to buy via the Switch, and it saved the archival of those 3 games. It's wild to think about that there's so many games that came out between 2004 and 2007. 13 of these games came out in 2007 alone. Speaking of alone, Persona 2 Shin Lost Memories was released October of 2007. It seems like in this game, Eikichi remembers all his friends, which, spoiler alert, that's the thing they give up in order to save the world. Well, Todoroki says that you can defeat your shadows to fully forget everything. This was another game that Tom archived on his channel, but that's gone, so the full story is lost. The companion to this is Persona 2 Punishment, Infinity Mask. Honestly, Sumi and Batsu were localized as Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment, so maybe we should call this Persona 2 Innocent Sin Lost Memories and Persona 2 Eternal Punishment Infinity Mask. This game has 5 playable characters: Maya, Tatsuya, Baofu, Ulala, and Nanjo. Don't know much else about it. There's a ukiyo-e painting that is evil and revives Sudo, and also revives the bad guy that Baofu knew, and it's using rumors to kill people. Another Bible also got a mobile port. There's not a whole lot to say about it. It plays seemingly the same as the original Another Bible, but it's got a massive new coat of paint. The game is almost unrecognizable when you compare it to the original in terms of looks, from the backgrounds, maps, portraits, UI even. It's all pretty different. Maybe this is another game that'll get saved from obscurity. Okay, let's talk about other Persona 3 mobile titles. Aegis First Mission is set 10 years before the events of Persona 3. It has you play as Aegis, and it's an action RPG, which is kind of refreshing when you think about it. The entire game has been subbed in English with a video on YouTube, so enjoy that. I tried to link as many things as possible, so most things here have at least something that you can watch or read or just look at. Now let's talk about Persona 3 EM, which takes place mid-Persona 3. It has auto-generated dungeons and has a day section and a night section. Day section has social links, night section has dungeons. Similar to Persona 3, where it also shares the combat style. The gist of the story is that during the summer vacation, the C's peeps go to Yakushima to relax. But they are pulled into a dream labyrinth instead. More like Nightmare Labyrinth, am I right? There's also Persona 3 Escape. This is an escape puzzle game, think Zero Escape, where protagonist and Yukari are trapped in a love hotel and they are trying to escape it. How did they get into this love hotel? I don't know, it's probably in the game somewhere. There's footage of this available too, which is nice. Hopefully this gets subbed if it has any noteworthy info, like why are they in this love hotel. Then there is Persona 3 Illust Puzzle or Illustration Puzzle. It's a puzzle game that uses the Persona 3 Arcana Tarot card designs. You can do monochrome puzzles, which are easier, or the colored versions, which are harder. Then there's Persona 3 Broken Shadow. It's a block breaking game with 3 difficulty settings and boss stages, and each time you win an image, and there's 9 images in total to win. And one of the last Persona 3 mobile games is Persona 3 Social. This is a social game with a different story than Persona 3, but it's the same world. The main character is a high schooler with a penchant for Persona using. You agree to help people stop shadows from destroying the world. There's a social link sort of function that works with other players, which could be built up by doing tower dungeons together. There's still quite a few games to talk about, so let's talk about Devil Children Mobile. This was another mobile social game using the Devil Children IP with updated art from the protagonist of Devil Children Red and Black books, drawn by the Etrian Odyssey artist. There's gacha elements and tournament battles, social elements, including social fusion. You get demons through the gacha, quests, and fusion. And it's all to become the Demon King or something. You can also use cheering to communicate with other players. There's also specific demons that are only available via events. The ones I saw were basically just recolors. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Hunter Zero is weird. It's got new art for the characters that's not really looking like it's Kaneko or Doi or anyone else that's recognizable. Apparently it's set in its own universe and it's a mobile game that has social game elements. This game has a simple premise. You are in the Makai, the demon world, and you need to defeat the Demon King. Clear all the areas to unlock new ones and new goodies. New areas are opened by summoning demons, clearing missions, and doing the main story. This game allows you to rent other people's demons to form a party, something similar to what we get in D2. It apparently had 300 plus demons. Magic crystals were also a thing used to buff demons. And it has a demonic compendium, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Speaking of Etrian, like a minute ago, I wanted to talk about this other thing that came out in 2007. The Etrian Odyssey mobile game called Labyrinth of the World Tree Mobile, or Etrian Odyssey Mobile. This was an original story set in the canon of Etrian Odyssey, and frustrating as it has been with the majority of these, this is basically all we know about the game. It apparently had quests and missions added weekly with a plan to expand the dungeon every 3 months, the ability to PvP other players, and to create your own dungeon. It apparently had unique elements to the gameplay, but we'll never know what those are. There's another Etrian mobile game, by the way, Etrian Odyssey S Eternal Conqueror. The game was some kind of social card game with over 400 characters and monster cards. You'd form a party and quest a bit and get some staples like the foe monsters, and you can get other players to help you out. Going back to SMT with Devil Collection, Shin Megami Tensei Devil Collection is another social game. Demons have appeared in Tokyo and you get an app to help you summon demons. This game is another card game with a heavy focus on collecting. This game features fusion and skill inheritance. You can also establish guilds with other summoners and battle other summoners as well. This next one's a weird one. Shin Megami Tensei 2 Gaiden Magic City Collapse. This was an RPG released in 2008 set in the world of Shin Megami Tensei. You enter the virtual dungeon Noah's Ark with the aim to take over the dungeon. It's turn-based and it has SMT fusion stuff, negotiation stuff, and dungeons are auto-generated. And if you die in the dungeon, you lose everything except your level, so you can continue with that. It also has a New Game Plus feature apparently, but I don't know what it is. And this one is technically the last Persona 3 mobile game, Persona Mobile Online. It's the first of the Mobile Online series apparently. This game is weird-ish. It's set in the Persona 3 world. You are a member of an entirely different school's vigilante group, where you do various quests within the dungeons of the game. There is some kind of social link function and you can talk to other players. You can accumulate Arcana points by doing stuff with friends, which can be used to make your character stronger. You can do things like send friend requests, send messages or items, or you can blacklist people. And the battle system is based on the Persona 3 one. We're nearing the final stretch of the video, by the way. Persona 4, the card battle, is exactly what it sounds like, a free-to-play gacha card game with over 400 cards set in the world of Persona 4. There's boss battles and challenges from characters from Persona 4, there's login rewards, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Persona 4 Colors is a weird mobile game released January 19th, 2008. This game is actually just 4 minigames, a Chie game, a Yosuke game, a Yukiko game, and a protagonist game. Chie's game is called Pursuit Dawn. This is some sort of timing-based game where she kicks things. Yosuke's game is called Gekiso, it's just a biking game. Yukiko's game is a cooking game, and Yu's game is called Cool Walker. You collect treasure chests while avoiding shadows. Getting the high score for any of these games will get you a wallpaper for you to use on your phone. Devil Survivor 2, The Extra World, is another social game. The player is a guy lost in a different world with a natural disaster striking, and they have to fight off the Septentrion. That's pretty much all we know about that game. Persona OA was a game made as a tie-in to Persona 5 the animation. The calendar notified you about Persona-related events. There was a bunch of different events to basically hype up the game. You can do Memento's exploration, and when you do that, you get Persona points, which you can use to summon new Persona, or you can use it to buy web content, or use it to play the in-game events. Apparently, the app shut down before they could do this tie-in event that they found in the files, which would have been a QR scanning event in the real world where you can learn about Persona 5 Royal, but it was removed shortly before the game was closed. Lastly, there's Shin Megami Tensei D2. This game is a culmination of everything we talked about so far. It's PvP, it's got gacha, it's got social stuff, it's got gacha, it's got new music, it's got gacha, it's got Origate, it's got gacha, it's got dungeon crawling, it's got gacha, it's got events, it's got gacha. You know, it's a gacha game. You play as the newest recruit for the good guys. You are a devil downloader, that's where the D2 comes from. And you can either choose to help the good guys and save the world, or you can destroy the world. And yeah, you could actually choose to do chaos. There's a whole chaos route. There's so much content in this game that's not really easy to summarize, but it's got everything from Origate, which is kind of like first-person dungeon crawling. It's got PvP against the AI version of a different person's party. It's got various events that are tied into other series, including Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Sonic, and more. It's got new art from someone who isn't Kaneko Doi or any of the other Atlas staff, and it's still up. And it's the only game on this list available in English, so if you want to play a game after hearing me talk about all these games, you just play that game. I've been playing it every day since it came out. And that's all the games that I know of. There's like 65 games or so that I mentioned in this video, and there could be more. So if you find more, let me know. You could reply right now with a, hey, you forgot this, and I'll just be like, okay, let me just add that to my list. The way that these games were organized, there wasn't really any one place that had all of the games listed. So I had to do a lot of digging. I had to like cross-reference and whatever. And a lot of times I couldn't find any documentation besides screenshots from like news outlets in Japan. And that's pretty much why most of these don't have that much info. Because all the news outlets did was just publish the press release, basically, with the generic statement about the games. Personally, I'm hoping this video boosts the mobile games into public's consciousness a bit more. Maybe we can get more games like saved from obscurity, like the last Bible New Testament games. Let me know what game interested you the most. Let me know if there's more information about a game that I named but didn't really talk about enough. Thank you to my channel members, Zorba the Prince, Garidius, A Lie Remains a Lie, and FF12 Kid. I'm so glad you guys are all enjoying my content lately. If you want to support my channel, you can watch the videos, become a member, comment and subscribe, like it, whatever. You can also buy my merch. Anyway, thanks for watching and goodbye, fellow Megatenists.